লা ইলাহা ইল্লাল্লাহু মুহাম্মাদুর রাসূলুল্লাহ। মাশাআল্লাহ।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين.
One pleasant morning, out of curiosity, a visitor asked Swamiji, "Why do we go to temples when God is everywhere? From water to light, human to animal, if He is everywhere, is there a point of going to temple seeking for divine energy when it's all around?" Swamiji smiled back and offered to answer his question in the evening. The person turned up later that evening but was late. Swamiji asked him why was he late. The person said, "The air in my car tires seemed to have reduced and I couldn't find any air pumps to refill them." Swamiji instantly asked him, why didn't he open the valve of the tire and filled it with the limitless air around? The person answered, "How can I do that? We need an air pump to push the air into the tire so it goes inside." Swami Vivekananda said, "It seems your tire situation has answered your previous question. Despite having limitless air around you, you need a pump to concentrate the air and push it into the tire." Similarly, temples are centers of concentrated positive energy, and the atmosphere within the temple influences the atmosphere within the person towards positivity and faith as well. Air is everywhere, but you do need a fan to feel it. So, my dear brothers and sisters, God is everywhere. We need a pure mind and a pure place to worship. To seek the divine energy and positivity, we go to temples. Thank you for being with me. Subscribe this channel and press the bell icon to get a notification of next positive story. Thank you. The meeting between Swami Vivekananda and Mangal Singh and the conversation between them has historical significance and has been discussed and analyzed by various scholars and biographers. In this video, we will talk about that meeting between Mangal Singh and Swami Vivekananda. In the beginning of 1891, Swami Vivekananda, while on his All India trip, once reached the state of Alwar in the north, currently a district in Rajasthan. The Prime Minister of that state was impressed by his lecture and took him to the palace to meet the Maharaja Mangal Singh. Mangal Singh Bahadur, the king of Alwar, was westernized in his outlooks and had no respect for Indian and especially Hindu culture and traditions, and used to feel proud for his attitude. He used to spend all his time in the company of westerners in hunting and other luxuries. Also, he had ego of being the king. When he saw Swami Vivekananda, he felt After all, he is just a young ascetic. How much experience will he have, although he gives discourse in English? Let me pull his leg. With this thought, the king said, Swamiji, I believe that idol worship is really a sign of being backward. I really pity anyone who offers turmeric, vermilion, and flowers to an idol, and also for paying obeisance to God. The idols you worship are nothing but piece of clay, stones, or metals. I find this idol worship meaningless. What is your opinion about this? It was a direct attack on Hindu belief, and Vivekananda had to give a strong reply to it. He started explaining to the king that Hindus worship God alone, using the idol as symbol. But his reply failed to convince the king. Thereupon, Swami Vivekananda saw a portrait hanging on the wall of the court. Vivekananda approached towards the painting, looked at it, and asked the Diwan of the court to take it down from the wall. It was a painting of Singh's deceased father. When the Diwan took the picture down from the wall, Vivekananda asked him to spit on it. Diwanji just glanced sneakily from the corner of his eyes at the king, whose face had become red with anger, and said, Swamiji, what are you saying? This is the picture of the late father of the king. Vivekananda said, Diwanji, this is just a thick paper colored with black ink. All were taken aback. The Diwan was horrified. He trembled when he heard this. The king was furious and asked, How dare you ask him to spit on my father? He cried in a tone of demanding an explanation. Vivekananda saw the king was gripped. He smiled and quietly replied, Your father, where is he? It is just a painting, a piece of paper, not your father. In this picture, there are no bones, flesh or soul of your father, and it is incorrect to think that it is just a thick paper with a picture of black ink. Similarly, it is incorrect to think that worship of the idol of God is incorrect. Vivekananda's reply followed the logic of the king's previous comment on Hindu idols. So, he was perplexed and speechless and did not know what to say. Vivekananda once again started explaining to him, Look, Maharaja, this is a painting of your father, but when you look at it, it reminds you about him. Here the painting is a symbol. Similarly, when a Hindu worshipper who worships an idol, the idol reminds him about his beloved deity, and he feels the presence of the deity in the idol. Here too, it is a symbol. Maharaja, it is all about Anubhuti. The devotees who worship the idol are aware that idol is not God, but it is difficult to meditate upon the Nirgun, formless God, for a common man. It is the first step to begin devotion to God. The king became introverted and thoughtful after listening to this. Now Mangal Singh quickly realized the real meaning of idol worship. He apologized to Vivekananda for his frivolity and rudeness and thanked him for giving him the lesson. He also requested Vivekananda to stay at his palace for few days. So, my dear brothers and sisters, God is everywhere. Worship in any form or worship the formless. We all are His child. Let's become His servitor and take His shelter and serve at our best.
ஹலோ ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், வெல்கம் டு அவர் சேனல். நம்ம இன்றைக்கு இந்த வீடியோல எதை பத்தி பார்க்க போறோம்னா, தேவன் மோசேவினிடத்துல தமது ஜனத்திற்காக கொடுத்த அந்த 10 கட்டளைகள் பத்தி தான் பார்க்க போறோம். இதுக்கு நம்ம ரெஃபரன்ஸா எடுத்துக்கொண்ட சாப்டர் யாத்ராகமம் 20. வாங்க வீடியோக்குள்ள போலாம். என்னையன்றி உனக்கு வேறே தேவர்கள் உண்டாயிருக்க வேண்டாம். யாதொரு விக்கிரத்தை ஆகிலும் நீ உனக்கு உண்டாக்க வேண்டாம். உன் தேவனாகிய கர்த்தருடைய நாமத்தை வீணிலே வழங்காதிருப்பாயாக. ஓய்வு நாளை பரிசுத்தமாய் ஆசரிக்க நினைப்பாயாக. உன் தகப்பனையும் உன் தாயையும் கனம் பண்ணுவாயாக. கொலை செய்யாதிருப்பாயாக. விபச்சாரம் செய்யாதிருப்பாயாக. களவு செய்யாதிருப்பாயாக, பிறனுக்கு விரோதமாக பொய் சாட்சி சொல்லாதிருப்பாயாக, பிறனுக்குள்ள யாதொன்றையும் இச்சியாதிருப்பாயாக. இவைகளே தேவன் அருளிய 10 கட்டளைகள்.
Welcome back. Now we take your questions. If you have a question yourself, send it to us at QuranSpeaks.com. So Dr. Shabir, question number 1. Upon the conquest of Mecca, it is said that the Prophet went inside the Kaaba and destroyed the idols. Why did he do that? Isn't that disrespecting other religions?
When we look at the materials that shape our religious understanding, we should not deny our overall conception that comes as a result of our whole life experience and all of this. So when we interpret the Quran and we interpret the incidents in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there could be 2 basic approaches. One could be the approach of I know myself as a human being, I know what it means to be kind, I know what it means to be respectful of others, I know how I feel if somebody disrespects something that is sacred to me, and so on. With that understanding, we would say that the mutual respect between people for their religious symbols and so on, this is a basic given. So when we come to the Quran and we interpret it, we must interpret it in light of that basic understanding and don't cancel that. But the other approach is also evident in that some people will negate what they already understand and think that somehow what we understand must be wrong, and we must now go to the Quran and find an entirely wholly different understanding altogether. And some people may thus ignore their sense that they ought to be respectful of others and try to find meanings in the Quran that will justify that kind of perception, as if something in the Quran will tell them that they ought not to be respectful to others. So we need to look carefully at what our presuppositions are as we come to the Quran. We don't come with blank slates and empty minds. People come with some presuppositions already. Now, coming to the Quran and putting our presuppositions aside for the moment, because that's a further exercise now to see what the Quran actually says, we see that the Quran actually says much about respecting others, not abusing what they worship, and so on. For example, the 6th chapter of the Quran, لَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, do not criticize or do not abuse that which they worship other than God, for then they will turn around and abuse God in their ignorance, because they would say your God is something wrong, and whereas our God is the universal God, is their God as well. So we shouldn't provoke them by, according to this verse, we shouldn't provoke them by abusing their gods, because we'll just set up the motion for them to turn around and abuse our God, which is also really their God, the true universal God. So it is unthinkable that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, required to follow the Quran, would then go about and do something contrary, such as abusing the gods of the others. What must have happened is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, clearly allowed for people to continue to worship as they were for many years, until the population reached a certain threshold of understanding. He was preaching to them for so many years, telling them that we should worship the unseen creator of the heavens and the earth. Never mind the idols that you carve with your own hands. Those are helpless, and you need the help of the living God. So after many years had passed, now we're dealing with the 8th year after the migration of the Prophet, peace be upon him, just 2 years before his death. And now he enters Mecca, and people are converting to Islam in throngs. Now people don't need their idols anymore. So somebody's got to do something about these idols. What are they going to do with it? Either you throw them into the ocean, which is not exactly close by, or you bury them in the sand or something like this. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, dramatically marked the occasion. It is mentioned in the Sirah work that he went around and he broke the idols. First of all, we should mention this is not actually in the Quran. This is in something other than the Quran. And if it is authentic, then it just simply means that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was doing what naturally comes at this point, seeing that there's no more use for the idols, and that's why he would have.
So it's about looking at everything within the context.
Yes, and not breaking the idols of people when these are still dear to the people, because then you break the hearts of the people, and then they would never want to embrace or understand Islam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.